Bonjour and welcome to Lagniappe with Mon Voyage. I'm Nicole LeBlanc. Thank you for joining me. This week we are going to New York City and I want to make some suggestions for some of my favorite places that are not sort of the top big names you are more familiar with in New York City. I'm not denying that the Metropolitan Museum has an incredible collection. I could spend days in there, but I wanted to mention a few other places that you might enjoy in New York City. My favorite museums, aside from the Met, would be the Neue Gallery. This is near the Met, just across Fifth Avenue, a few blocks up from the Met. It's the collection of Ronald Lauder, focusing on Austrian and German art from the late 19th century through about World War II. It has an incredible collection of Austrian and German art, especially Gustav Klimt and Egon Schiele. There is an outstanding collection of items from the Wiener Werkstätte. If you are a fan of the design of that period, at the turn of the century, Vienna 1900 is a sort of a touchstone in the line of Art Deco. It's got a beautiful cafe downstairs, Cafe Sabarsky. It's a very manageable size museum. It's not too big. You can visit it. You don't feel exhausted when you finish, and then go have a cup of coffee and a slice of cake downstairs. Nearby you can find the Frick collection, which is just incredible, another private collection, which was also someone's home. It is currently under renovation. However, as soon as it reopens, highly recommended. It's a very special experience to visit a collection that was once someone's home, their personal collection. Really, you get a sort of a nice insight into the individual taste of a collector when it's set in their own very home. I also love the Cooper Hewitt Design Museum. It's part of the Smithsonian. It focuses on all aspects of design, from architecture to industrial design to basic items we use every day, to art, to jewelry, crafts, textiles, you name it. And there's always multiple fascinating exhibits going on at the Cooper Hewitt Museum. I also recommend downtown the International Center for Photography, which also has a school associated with it. But there will be current photographers there, historical retrospectives of all kinds. Another downtown school associated museum that I love is the Fashion Institute of Technology, FIT. There's a lovely free museum. The museum itself is nothing fancy. It's just in their rooms in their big building downtown. However, the contents of those rooms, the displays, the pieces that they have representing fashion history and designer work is just incredible. If you're a fashionista, you just must go and see whatever they have on exhibit at any time. Again, this is another small museum. It won't wear you out. You can just pop in during their open hours. It's absolutely free. In terms of history attractions in New York, if you are a Hamill fan like me, you might want to go way uptown to Harlem to Hamilton Grange, which is Alexander Hamilton's house. It's a National Park Service location. You can get a tour of the house with the National Park Ranger about every hour or so. There's also a really terrific exhibit in the Visitor Center about the life of Alexander Hamilton, and you will see, well, reproductions of documents and items, artifacts that are mentioned in Hamilton or that you may have read about in the biography of Hamilton. For example, when in Hamilton, when he drops that big pile of papers when he's complaining about John Adams, and you hear about some of the terrible things he said about John Adams. Well, there's that letter right there, a reprint of the letter where he's just raking John Adams over the coals. In any event, it's really fun for Hamilton people. You can also take walking tours about Hamilton. You also probably want to visit the Museum of American Finance downtown if you want to learn about the history of the Department of the Treasury and Alexander Hamilton's role in that. Another favorite historical uh, attraction in New York for me is the New York Historical Society. This is going to be back uptown on the side of Central Park, right next to the American Natural History Museum. It's right across the street. It will have exhibits on um, uh, all aspects of the history of New York, design, art, um, particular artists, craftspeople, events, and there's always something interesting there in that building as well. And they have rotating exhibits and special collections. The highlight of the permanent collection would be the Tiffany collection. I've lost track of the exact number. I want to say it's in the hundreds, but it's a lot of Tiffany lamps, and these were all from one person's collection. It's just unbelievably gorgeous to walk into the room with all of these Tiffany lamps. I've never seen so much Tiffany in one room before. If you like Tiffany, you will need to fan yourself because it's so good. In terms of performances, of course, you have all the famous Broadway theaters, Broadway shows that you can see, long-running shows, new shows. I myself like to focus on shows that might not tour because I will see touring shows here where I live in Dallas, or I like to see shows that have a special cast. It may be a limited engagement or something like that. I'm not really going to go see Phantom or Chicago when I'm in New York, most likely because I've seen it already. But if you haven't seen those things, it's great to see them in New York. But if you live in a big enough city where you have touring productions, there are lots of special things we can find for you that you will not get a repeat of where you live. Many of these shows are going to be off-Broadway. There are some major off-Broadway houses you want to consider. Playwrights Horizons, Second Stage Theater, the Public Theater, Manhattan Theater Club, Atlantic Theater Club, just to name a few. These shows are often world premieres that go on to great acclaim. They are small theaters, so you're very close to the action no matter where your seats are. Just some of the things I've recently seen. Here Lies Love by David Byrne at the Public Theater. What an amazing experience. It was kind of set up to be sort of like a disco. Really cool. You don't get that in a Broadway house. American Songbook, fabulous series from Lincoln Center, up overlooking Columbus Circle and Central Park in this special room with a huge glass wall, the Apple Room with a glass wall overlooking the city. It's stunning, and the attractions and singers and performers they have on the series are top notch. And it could be contemporary songwriters, it could be people who sing traditional songs from Gershwin, etc. It's a full range of American songwriting. Fly By Night, fabulous show. I saw this first at the Dallas Theater Center. It was a co-production with Playwrights Horizons in New York. I also did go see it in New York at Playwrights Horizons. Playwrights Horizons is a really special place for me in New York because they really do nurture playwrights there and present outstanding work. I would recommend that you try to stay off the beaten path a little bit in New York. There's so much to see and do. You could never fit it all in one trip. You have to just keep going back over and over again to see it all. But you'll never run out of things to do in New York. If you need help planning a trip to New York or any other city or country, please contact me at my website, monvoyagetravel.com. And until the next time, à la prochaine.